Hello everyone, yes, it's Kyla again, and welcome to Paranormal at the Boneyard. And I hope you can hear me over the traffic going by, because there's a road here, a major road, lots of traffic, but I hope you can hear me. And I want to bring you to one of my favorite places to visit. Welcome to Hamilton Cemetery. Obviously in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. And this is a great place. I've been coming here since the 90s, taking pictures. This is actually one of the places where I take a lot of photos. Started off just taking pictures of the statues, went from there to taking pictures of different stones, and then went from there to learning about the history of some of the people on the stones. There are some very famous people buried here, very successful people. We have the Tucketts, which is a tobacco baron. We've got the founder of Hamilton buried here. We have politicians. We have people who were activists. It's a great place, full of history. The grounds themselves are actually from Burlington Heights during the War of 1812. So every hill you see here is man-made, and it's just an awesome place, full of history. But I'm not here to give a history lesson. I am here to talk about ghosts. So a little history will slip in every once in a while, but yeah, this is a ghost show, so, a paranormal show, but I'm like obsessed with ghosts, so I'm going to be talking about ghosts a lot. And, well, a lot of people, there is a debate whether or not cemeteries are haunted at all. And a lot of people are like, this is just the shell. This is just what the soul was encapsulated in, and that's what's buried. The soul is gone and can be free to do whatever you want. And I'm a believer in that to an extent. I don't believe that there are trapped souls. I don't believe that ghosts are like required to haunt a certain location as a purgatory or hell or anything like that. I'm not one of those believers. I believe once the soul is free, it can do whatever the heck it wants. You know, if it wants to go, you know, to China, let it go to China. If it wants to go to a cemetery, let it go to cemetery. So just because you're gone from the soul doesn't mean you can't come back and visit. God knows, I'm not even going to be buried here, but I'm going to come and haunt this place every once in a while. I love this place alive. Why wouldn't I come here when I'm dead, right? So that's what I think happens. I think some people just come to visit. I've had experiences in other cemeteries as well. I have had one really big experience that I'm going to share with you. And then after that, we're going to go across the street because there's a special place across the street too. But it was a big experience, and it was definitely a spirit. And I think it was really exciting, so I'm going to get to it now. We're going to walk along here. I do have relatives buried here, and I do have stones that I'm very drawn to for whatever reason. And yeah, so we're just going to get going with that. And not always do you see ghosts, you know, you don't always see, but you feel the energy. And the energy is lively, which sounds strange to say in a cemetery, but you do feel the energy of souls that are there to visit. Just visit. I don't think anybody's trapped here. If you see the movie Frighteners, where everybody's required to, their souls are required to stay with their coffins and stuff, I don't think it's like that at all. I think they come and go when they want. You want to see, hey, who's been visiting my grave? Who's been taking care of my grave? You know, or I want to go see Auntie so-and-so's grave. You know, you did it while you were alive. Why can't you do it when you're dead, right? That's my theory. That's my thought on it. And I'm going to take you now to the place where I had my most vivid haunting experience in the cemetery. So here we go. Well, I figure as we're heading down towards the spot that I was telling you about, I figured I'd stop at a couple of ways along the ways and just chat with you a little bit. When I was saying that I was drawn to certain stones, this one is one of them. Sadly, it's in complete and total disrepair now. I'm very sad about that. But it was a gentleman, you can't even see his first name anymore. His name was Peter Morrison. It was always on the ground when I saw it, so it's clearly been run over a couple times by cars or like the lawnmowers that come through here or something like that. So it's all cracked, it's broken, it's falling apart. You can't even read Peter's first name anymore. You can't read the fact that he died at 18 years of age. But there's something about this grave. He died in 1873, so I clearly never knew him. Yeah, it was somebody that I've always been drawn here. There is a poem at the bottom, and I don't even know if I can even read it anymore, but I think maybe it was the poem that drew me here. But this is something that, one of the reasons why I now take photos of gravestones and stuff like that is because they're falling apart like this. Man and nature are taking them away from us, and sometimes this is all these people had to show that they were alive. And I believe somebody has to document them before they completely disappear. So if nothing else, I'm doing that, right? So, but yeah, that's Peter Morrison. He was alive and he mattered, and he died at 18, and he's slowly falling back into dust, and I think that's very sad, and that's one of the reasons why I'm always drawn here. Oh, and earlier when I said you want to go visit your auntie, well, look, here's auntie right there. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, it just says auntie. No name, no nothing, just auntie. See? So interesting, so interesting. There's so many stories here, so much history. It's absolutely fascinating. I love this place. I'm not great at giving history lessons. If you want, there's like Hamilton Cemetery, they do tours here with Robin McKee, and every Saturday, I think at 11 a.m. every Saturday, rain, shine, snow, whatever, they're always here, and they'll do little tours where you walk around the cemetery and they talk about certain people that are here, politicians, famous people. There is a very famous murder that happened in like 1926, I believe, maybe 1924, I can't remember, but she's the murder victim. She was only 25. She's over there. Her name was Ethel Kinrade. So yeah, it's just, this place has a lot of history, a lot of graves, and a lot of beauty in my opinion. So we're just gonna keep on going, so let's move on. Well, I said I wasn't going to give a history lesson, but it looks like I'm going to do a little bit of one because, like I said, I'm just on my way right now to the one spot that I had my truly ghostly experience, but I had to stop here because this is Ethel Kinrade's grave. This statue here, which is a pain in the butt to photograph if I might interject that in there because the lighting is never right to get it the way I want it to look. But other than that, the Kinrade family, I don't know if anybody else is buried here because hers is the only marker that I see, and I was way off on the dates. She was born in 1884 and died in 1909. So I wasn't in the 20s. So she was in her 20s when she passed away. But the sad story about her is that I'm not going to say what I believe because nobody was convicted or even charged with the crime. But I have my theories on who hired the person who murdered her. But that's neither here nor there. But what happened was there was a knock on the door. She answered the door and she was shot and killed. And she was only 25. So, not going to get into details. If you want to look it up, look her up online. Kinrade, Kinrade, and her first name's Ethel. And she died in Hamilton, Ontario at the age of 25. So there's a whole theory on what happened with her, but I'm not going to get into it. But I think one of the reasons why cemeteries can be haunted sometimes is because of the pull of living people. The living energy can be here, and I know a lot of people have come to this grave. I've seen little, people leaving coins and little stones and stuff on her little tiny marker that's right here. And I believe the pull can be very strong for the spirit to come and see, hey, who's coming to visit me? And that's why you always hear people saying, oh, I saw Marilyn Monroe at Marilyn Monroe's grave, or I saw this or that, whatever. And I think a lot of people come to visit her, so I believe that she probably, her energy at least is here every once in a while. Not always, but there are times where I think I feel her. So, or maybe somebody else, I don't know. But, so yeah, I just think it's so sad. She was only 25. To me, that's just, that's not a life. That's so, and it's mystery, and it's never been solved, and it's just, there's the theories, but it's like any other unsolved crime. It's never going to be solved. I mean, in 1909, it's never going to be solved, and the mystery is always going to be there. So, just a sad story. Just wanted to stop because, like I said, I always stop at this one. This is one of the ones that I'm drawn to, probably because of the story of the young woman who died tragically, and we're going to keep on going. So here we go. And just, we keep on walking. You can hear the crows. I love the crows. And, yeah, I apologize for the sunglasses. I have this weird condition with my eyes where I can't see in the light. I call them vampire eyes. Because a lot of people, it seems to be the other way around for them, where they can't drive at night because they can't see the road. I'm completely the opposite. I can see great at night. I can see perfectly at night, but during the day, the more it's light out, the less I can see. So I always have to have sunglasses on sometimes. And I did a little bit because my back was to the sun in the other direction, but I just can't do it. I basically will start to cry, the eyes will water, and yeah, so sorry. But we just keep going. This place is a very big cemetery, and a lot of beautiful stones, lots of history. Okay, we're almost there. I just wanted to stop because this is actually what I was looking for when I saw the ghost that I saw. This is the Bruce family. This is a family plot. There are several people with the name of Bruce here, and I was looking for this one because I have a Scottish background, so I wanted to come and take pictures of this because clearly this is Bruce from Robert the Bruce, and it's got the little insignia there. It's very, very little, the family emblem. It's very, very cool. But I was coming from this direction when I saw what I saw on that side. It's on the other side of the monument here. And I had a film camera at the time. This is way back when I was using film. And I was looking for the Bruce monument because I wanted to take pictures of it. Celtic cross, beautiful. The Bruce family, Scottish heritage, my Scottish heritage. I'm not from the Bruce family, but I have Scottish heritage. And I was over here walking this way when I saw what I saw. So we're going to get a little bit closer to the actual location when I saw it. And I will discuss it a bit more then because I don't know, I thought it was cool, and I hope you think it's cool too. I'm making such a build up for it, I hope it's good. Well, I was about to record earlier, and then all of a sudden a great big 4-prop plane just flew by. So we're not far from the Warplane Heritage Museum, so I think it was one of the planes from there. It's in Hamilton, Ontario, up on the mountain, and my brother volunteers there. So if you want a lot of history, and that place is supposed to be haunted, so if you want a lot of history and you want a lot of ghosts, go to the Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum in Hamilton. It's just on Mount Hope right by the airport. It's pretty interesting too. And we are getting to the spot soon. We're almost there. I'm so excited to show you this. And just to say, this isn't the only haunting experience I've had here, but it's been the most vivid. And but I've come here, I've heard singing, I've had touch. That I actually don't like. I don't like it when spirits touch me. But I was in here one time walking along, and all of a sudden I felt fingers on my thighs. Outer thighs, but still very uncomfortable to be touched on the thighs by something you can't see. I've heard, yeah, like I said, I've heard singing, I've heard voices whispering my name, and I have seen movement. And then you look over, and that one I've never been 100% whether I'm really seeing a spirit or what I'm seeing, but yeah, when you look, you see something in the corner of your eye and you know it's a human form or something, and you look over and it's not there. I think I've seen people moving about every once in a while, but you're never 100% sure, so I don't want to say conclusively that that's ghosts, but it's something. It's definitely something. So just a few more steps, we're going to be there. So I'm very excited because I thought this story was cool and I have to share it. All right, we have arrived at the stone where I saw a spirit. I am 100% positive what I saw was a ghost. It was at this grave. Actually, he was standing, it was a man, and he was standing right about here. So I don't know whether or not it's his grave. The name on here is Walter. It says here he died, I think it says his 52nd year, and the gentleman that I saw definitely wasn't 52 years old. But when you're in spirit form, you can appear however you like. If you want to appear as a slinky, you can appear as a slinky. I don't know. I feel that the confines of the physical form and physical world do not relate to the spiritual world. So maybe he just went back to a time period where he thought he was looking his best, or the way he wanted to look, or the way he wanted to be remembered, or it's not even this person at all, and I have no idea who it was. But as I said, I was walking around looking for the Bruce grave, which is actually just over there, and I was just wandering around because I didn't know at the time where it was. Using a film camera, I had one frame left in it, and I just wanted to get a picture of that grave with the Celtic cross on it and the Bruce name, and I thought it was going to be great. And I was in the field over there just wandering back and forth, and I looked back over here, and it was just for a few seconds, not even a few seconds, probably 1 second, but I remember the way this person looked vividly. He was he had one of those caps on that's kind of like, it's a cap, it's not a baseball cap, not a hat, not a fedora. It was just one of those farmer's caps, I guess would be the best way to describe it. And he had overalls, so he had the suspenders up here, he had a gray shirt. It was like a gray button-up shirt, and it was buttoned up, and he had his hat, and it was kind of like scruffy, not 100%, like he wasn't, you know, like a full beard. It wasn't like that. It was just kind of scruffy. And I only saw him because he was behind the stone here. I only saw him from maybe like here up. And he looked like he was tanned. So he'd been out in the sun a lot, and he was definitely blonde. The hair was blonde, and he looked like maybe he was about 25, at the maximum 30 years of age. He looked very young. And I looked at him, and as I looked at him, he looked at me, put his hand up and waved, and then faded away, completely disappeared. And stupid me did not pick up my camera and take a picture. I'm a freaking photographer. You think I would pick up my camera and take a picture of this to try and get something, like maybe energy mass or a ball or one of those stupid orbs that I don't believe in, you know, like something like that. And no, I went and took a picture of the Bruce thing and then came back here because I'm an idiot. I wouldn't do that now, but back then it was just such a weird rush that went through my head. It was like I don't know how to explain it. It was like a head rush almost went through my head when I saw it, and I guess I wasn't clearly thinking. I don't know. But it was really weird. And I remember this guy's face, and I remember him looking at me, and like almost like the sun was behind him, so I could still see his features. So I saw him and he looked solid, and then all of a sudden he faded away, like you see on TV or in the movies when they just sort of disappear. It wasn't like here 1 second, gone the next. It was fades away and disappears. And I wasn't scared. I just got that head rush that was just like, you feel kind of dizzy. And I was an idiot and because it was film, I only had the one frame left in the picture, took the picture that I wanted to take, and then came over here. Because I was like, well, what grave? What? Because I'd made that mistake before where I've seen a spirit in the cemetery and I didn't go to the grave to see what grave it was. So I came here. The grave on here is Walter. And I just sort of touched it. And I was just like, if there's anybody here, did you want to say something to me? And it felt like a wind didn't pass over me, you know, like when you're on a windy day and you feel the wind on your skin and it's really nice. This actually felt like it went through my body. I've never experienced this before. Have since, but not at that point. It felt like the wind, it was cold air that just went through my entire torso, in my head, to the point where I almost lost balance and fell over. I literally was like, whoa, like that. And it just felt so strange. It didn't feel harmful. It didn't feel like it was trying to hurt me. It just felt maybe I'm here. Hey. But I just was like really dizzy, almost fell over, and just sort of was like, okay, that was really weird. And I just went, I have to go now. It's getting late. I'm going to go home, but you can't come with me. You have to stay here. So goodbye. And I have not seen him since. I have not seen this spirit since. I am 100% positive this was a spirit. As I said, I've had other little experiences where I think I see something or I hear something, like I hear singing or whatever. But this one really was vivid because he was a solid mass form. I remember distinctly what he looked like. I could take a photograph of him. You know, like if I could find somebody that looked just like him, I would dress that guy up just like this guy, and I would take his picture and say, this is what he was. Like it was that, but it was just for a second, and yet I've never forgotten his face. This was like maybe the year 2002, 2001, you know, like 20 years ago, and I've never forgotten it. Whether or not it was this guy, this Walter guy, I don't know. But it was just so strong, and it's never left my memory, and I've never seen him since. And I told a couple of people about it. I don't tell too many people. Well, I am now, but at the time I wasn't telling too many people my ghost stories because, you know, you don't want to be told you're an idiot or something like that. Now I'm telling everybody. But my brother, who is a complete and total skeptic, I told him, and I was waiting for him to go, oh my God, your imagination is so crazy or something like that. And he turned to me and said, well, maybe they're getting used to you there, because the landscaping staff knows me, used to know me, because I used to come here every single day, and they started calling me creepy girl because I was here all the time in the cemetery. But he's like, maybe they're getting used to you here, maybe the landscaping staff aren't the only people who know you're here. I thought that was interesting, and it felt so nice coming from a guy who's a complete skeptic. I mean, granted, he comes with me on ghost hunts and stuff like that. He's the one that keeps me in line when I start to go, oh my God, what's that? And he's like, yeah, the window's open. You know, it's like, but, so yeah, if he can sit there and say that, and say, hey, maybe somebody else is getting used to you being there that's not alive. I was like, that's pretty damn cool that you would say that. So, and maybe that's true. Maybe I would, you know, at the time, I was here so often, maybe somebody just wanted to say, hey, I see you, now you can see me. So that was my big story, and I hope that you liked it. Now we are going to take another sojourn across the street, and I'm going to tell some stories there, because there are lots of haunting experiences over there, and none that I've experienced, but I'm going to tell you stories about it, so I hope that you will enjoy those too. Actually, as I head on over, I want to tell you the ghost story that wasn't. It was something that I thought was going to turn into a ghost story, but then it wasn't. I was walking along in here, beautiful sunny day, just walking around with my camera. Actually, I got my camera strapped on my back right now, so yeah, it's always with me. And I'm walking along, and all of a sudden in the distance, I can hear the faint sounds of bagpipe music. Now, like I said, with my Scottish heritage, I love the bagpipes. So I was like, wow, who's playing bagpipes? So I'm like, it doesn't sound like a group, like people in the center of town were playing it. I could hear it in the distance. You can't do that. I was like, that's not it. It's one single bagpiper. And you always hear about the phantom, you know, bagpipes and stuff like that. So I was like, ooh, am I having an experience here? So I'm walking around thinking, okay, either I'm nuts and I'm just hearing bagpipes in the middle of nowhere, or there's a phantom piper. And I was so excited. And I'm looking around, finally found a living person back here, actually behind me on the road over here, by his car, practicing his bagpipes. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool that you're playing them here. And he's like, well, you can't really practice them at home. You know, the family doesn't like them. They're a bit loud. So I took up his picture holding his bagpipes and walked away. I've never seen him since, but I just thought that was so cool, because I'm thinking, oh my God, phantom piper, that's awesome. No, just some guy practicing it because his family doesn't want him to practice it at home. So that's my ghost story that never happened. Okay, we're trying it without the sunglasses because the sun's behind me over here. But here, as we're leaving the cemetery, I just wanted to show you, this is a little hint of where we're heading off to. We're going across the street, which will be at Dundern Castle. And the McNabb family is the family that owned that property. Sir Alan McNabb used to own it. I'll talk a little bit more about him as I go across the street. But yeah, they were all buried on the grounds at Dundern Castle, and then when it became like a national historical site, and it became like a park area, the outdoors is all a park area, they removed the bodies and put the physical remains here. Now, Sir Alan McNabb's remains, the father, is not here. His physical remains are actually in a Catholic cemetery in Burlington, Ontario. Apparently on his deathbed, he declared to be Catholic, and so they put him on consecrated ground. It's one of those, you don't know if that's true or not, but that's where he is, and his family is here. So not all his family, but most of his family members are here. And we're gonna go across the street to his home. So join me, won't you? Okay, here we are. We are at Dundern Castle in Hamilton, Ontario. And as you can see, it's quite large and very popular. Actually, right here is the aviary. It's not an aviary anymore, but it was for a long, long time. And just to start with, I did have a question from a friend of mine who we were here, and he wanted to know what Dundern meant, and I'm like, I don't know. So I said it's probably something British or Scottish or Gaelic or something like that. It is. I looked it up. Dundern is Gaelic for strong fort. So yeah, when this place was built, Sir Alan McNabb called it a strong fort, the Dundern. So that's what that means. So if my friend is watching, that's what Dundern means. And then it became castle because people looked at it and said, well, it looks just like a castle, so it turned into Dundern Castle. So it's actually just right on Burlington Bay. Behind the castle over here is the lake, and if you can hear the shrieking of the railroads, there's a railway right behind it too. And just a little bit of history about it. Sir Allan McNab moved to Hamilton in 1826. He was originally a lawyer, and then he became the Premier of the United Canadas. At the time, this is before Canada was a country, we were still part of Britain, and so there was Upper Canada and Lower Canada, and I think he was the Premier of the United Canadas. So he's kind of like what the Prime Minister is now, back then before Canada was its own country. So he bought this property, and originally it was just an old colonial home. Apparently a beautiful home, but he changed it to this and turned it into the castle that it is now, and it was completed in 1835, and the total cost to build at that time was $175,000. So 1835, $175,000, yeah, that's a lot. So just got my little cheat sheets here because I honestly don't know too much of the history. I had to look it up. So there are tragic stories that have happened within his family. When he moved to Hamilton, his first wife died suddenly, and he was a widower left with 2 children. So then he got remarried, and when this castle was built, his son was killed. I think his son, I can't remember his name, Robert I think it was killed in a hunting accident. Apparently he shot himself in a hunting accident. His second wife, Mary, died of consumption in this building. And it has been told that one of the haunting stories in this building is that if you go to her deathbed room, you can feel a cold breeze come through it, and it will blow out your candle. So if you have if you're walking along with a candle there, it will blow out. So that's pretty interesting. And also, as I walk towards the building a little bit more, it's less crowded now. It's very popular in this area for weddings. There was actually a wedding being photographed here while I was sitting here. So I'm just waiting. I'm not going to photograph their wedding on them. So I've actually photographed weddings here myself. It's a beautiful place. Inside's also beautiful, but we're not going to go inside because it costs money to do a tour. So, and I'm cheap. But yeah, there's also the story of you can hear singing a lot in here. And there's nothing bad here, there's nothing negative feeling here apparently. But yeah, you can hear like gentle lulling singing, usually around Mary's death room. But yeah, there's always the cool breeze, there's always that. One of the more prevalent spirits here, which I think is very interesting, is Sophia, who was the daughter of Sir Allan McNab, which was strange because I think it was 1855 she got married, moved to England, and never came back. But her ghost is here. Apparently she's seen quite a bit. She's in her room a lot. She does a lot of her own little hauntings here and there, and I think that might just be, hey, she liked it here. You know, ghosts are like people, they go where they like it. So she lived a life of luxury in England, but apparently she likes to come back to where she spent her childhood. There have been stories of seeing a little girl ghost, and some people do believe that is Sophia in child form. And let's see. Oh, yes. Something that has absolutely nothing to do with the McNab family. Actually, pretty much right where I'm standing, right around here, there were 11 men hanged for treason in 1812. This was the War of 1812. We are still on the site of Burlington Heights, and it was believed that these men were American sympathizers during the war, and they were convicted and sentenced to hang. Actually, I think they were to be hanged, but not until death, and then they were supposed to be pulled down after they had choked for a while, and they were then supposed to be cut down and then drawn and quartered. So pretty freaking bad. And I do know this story because I read it in a book a long time ago. They were, I think it was pretty much where I'm standing here. They were all hanged, and gallows gave way. So they all died on the gallows. None of them apparently had to be taken down and drawn and quartered, which was a good thing. But it is apparently, you can see at night sometimes their spirits are here every once in a while as well. So yeah. And oh yeah, I also have another one here, the ghost story that never was, from myself here as well. I was walking along here and I was looking in the windows, because there's lots of windows to look into, and on the other side, I'll take you down there, I swear to God, I saw somebody sitting in a chair, just sitting there looking around. It was a woman, and I'm like, nobody's supposed to be sitting in that furniture. Like, this is old furniture from like 1855. This should not be, why are they sitting there? Like, it's crazy. So I'm looking and I'm looking and looking, and all of a sudden I see a cell phone come up and she starts texting. So I'm wondering if perhaps it was a volunteer. So, because there's lots of volunteers dressed in period pieces, and oh, I can't go too far over here because there's another wedding being filmed here. Okay, so I won't take you to weddings all the time being filmed here, so I'm not going to take you there, but it was on the window on the other side, and yeah, I saw it. That's where I saw it. And then I saw the phone come up, and then like the little texting and stuff like that. So I don't know if they were supposed to be there or if they were allowed to be there, but yeah. But apparently this place is extremely active and extremely haunted. I don't know. I've never heard any story of Sir Alan McNab himself being here, but mostly I've heard of the men who died on the gallows, who were hanged, and I've heard of Sophia and her Mary, the wife. I don't know anything about the son. I know that he died tragically in the hunting accident, but I don't know if his ghost is ever here. But I mean, this place, popular for weddings. That's the second wedding I've seen being photographed here. So popular for weddings. There's another building down there which they're not 100% sure what they thought it was for, but they pretty much believe it's a little theater that was used for cockfighting. And there are rumors of a tunnel that go from this building to this building behind me over here, where you could go and watch your cockfighting. So, which as a vegetarian, I'm totally against that, so I don't really like that too much. But yeah, lots of energy from Sophia here, apparently. She's apparently the most prevalent. And you hear singing. And when I did take a tour, there was, the tour guide did say something about when you're in the servants' quarters, you can feel a lot of energy and a lot of, probably from the servants of yesteryear. Oh geez, the third wedding, oh my goodness. So I'm just gonna get out of the way so I don't get in anybody's picture. But yeah, if you want to feel energy, you want to feel the history, you want to feel the past, you want to feel the spirits, come to Dundern Castle because it is very active. I've come here once and I have not seen a ghost. I have felt things here, but I've never seen anything. I have just felt the energy. Nobody's ever came up and said, hey, I'm Sophia, I'm making my presence known to you. Just the one experience of the ghost that never was for me here. And I have seen a homemade planchette. So there were people here, probably at night, and got the little homemade Ouija board, and we're trying to contact somebody with a planchette. And that was actually in the same spot that I can't go to right now because they're photographing wedding stuff there. So, but this place is extremely popular. One of the most popular building in the city of Hamilton, I think. And so yeah, if you want to, there's like an old barn that's now been turned into a gallery and a gift shop, and we've got the one building over here that was like a little theater that maybe cockfighting, may not be, and we've got the actual castle, the aviary. This is a beautiful, beautiful place, and I did feel energy down in the servants' quarters. If you go downstairs, there's definitely something going on down there, and there have been stories of ghosts running around in the basement with the servants' quarters. So my theory is that they were probably servants from way back when. So that's pretty much it for the day. I think I'm going to go now, and I hope you enjoyed this segment of me being out and about trying to get little things here and there. Little stories of ghosts around Hamilton. Well, just this one spot in Hamilton. And I'll see you next time. So this is Kyla from the Paranormal in the Boneyard, and just because you can't see it, taste it, smell it with your 5 senses doesn't mean it's not really happening. So see you soon.